A lot of specialized terms get thrown around in the post-production world, and maybe it's not so clear what they are. In this video, I'm going to go through a glossary of common terms and explain them. I'm Tom Effinger of AudioPostPro, where we help you boost your audio skills and knowledge to improve the quality of sound work on your film and video projects and help you build a skill set to succeed as an audio professional. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Links to anything we talk about in the video will be in the description. Okay, let's get into some terms. So one of the terms you'll hear most commonly is timecode. Timecode is actually a real-time counter that moves along with the film and video project. So it's basically like minutes and seconds, except specifically timecode is hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. Nowadays, most projects are based on 24 frames a second, and actually that's what the video is actually running at. So there will be 24 individual frames that make up a second of video or film. So it's important that we have a timecode that matches that in our audio sessions so that we can make scene markers and edits and cuts that match the video frames precisely. Frame rate is another term that's really tied into timecode. Frame rate is simply the amount of frames per second of any given project. Commonly these days we're seeing 24 frames a second, but there are cases where people are shooting 30 frames, or in video for slow motion and other things they might be shooting 60 frames. So frame rate is the amount of frames in a second for any given project. I think a term that everyone knows but we might as well touch on is stereo. As opposed to 5.1, stereo just means two channels in the final output of the project, so left and right, just two channels of audio. 5.1 is the next level up in terms of surround sound, and it's comprised of 6 individual tracks of audio. You have left, center, right, left surround, and LFE or subwoofer. Since we work against video all the time, there are a lot of terms that are related to the reference video. When I say reference video, I'm talking about the video that they turn over to us that we work against in sound. Usually the reference video will start with a countdown. A lot of times the official countdown is called an Academy leader. The Academy leader is most often used in film, but it basically starts with a screen that says picture start. Then it counts down 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. The 2 is a single frame. Then there are 2 seconds of black, and that's the end of the leader. A couple of other terms that are related to the Academy leader and the start of a project are 2 slate and 2 pop. So the 2 slate is that single flash of 2 at the end of the Academy leader, and it's usually accompanied with a pop, an audio tone of 1 frame duration, and that is so that you can check synchronization between audio and picture. So the 2 pop comes 2 seconds before first frame of action. That's a term that you'll hear. It's often denoted as the FFOA for first frame of action, and it is the actual first frame of the program. So you have your Academy leader, your 2 slate and 2 pop, then 2 seconds of silence and black, and then first frame of action. Now first frame of action can be black. The project could be fading up from black. It could have several seconds of black. Audio could start over black. So it does though let us know exactly where the program begins. Just like first frame of action, we have last frame of action. So that of course is at the end of the project, and it's the very last active frame in the project. So the project is actually finished at the end of the last frame of action. So if we provide a number for the last frame of action, it's actually the frame after that that would be the end of the project. So it's just another term you'll hear, last frame of action, or LFOA. A term you'll hear a lot, especially in audio, is stems. Now stems is a little bit of a broad term, but generally it means finished mix tracks or subcategories of the final mix tracks. So we even call the mixes stems. We might have the 5.1 mix stem, stereo mix stem, but then we commonly have dialogue stem, effect stem, music stem, and on the bigger projects we do those both in 5.1 and in stereo. So a full set of mix stems for a common project would be 5.1 mix stem, stereo mix stem, dialogue 5.1 stem, effects 5.1 stem, music 5.1 stem, then dialogue stereo stem, effects stereo stem, music stereo stem, and then often we're also doing a M&E stereo stem and an M&E 5.1 stem. So I use the term M&E. What's an M&E? M&E stands for music and effects, and basically it's a mix of the project without dialogue, and it's used for dubbing in foreign languages. There are commonly two main types of M&Es. There's a fully filled M&E, where you have to go back and fill every sound that was attached to dialogue so that everything is there minus the dialogue. In documentary, we often use a simpler version, which is just an M&E without the dialogue, but without every sound effect put back in. Another term that you may hear a lot is hard cut and soft cut. Hard cuts are when you have a very short transition or really no transition between one clip and another. We commonly use a 1 or 2 frame crossfade just so there's no pop at the cut. But it essentially sounds like an immediate cut between one thing and another. We really use that between scenes to denote the change of time and/or place. Soft cuts we use inside scenes to create smooth transitions between clips, and you can also use them to just create smooth transitions between scenes if that's the sound that you're going for. Another couple of terms you'll hear a lot are pre-lap and post-lap. Pre-lap is when sound comes in before the cut, and post-lap is when sound goes later than the cut. So for example, if you have a scene coming up, you might actually pre-lap the dialogue, so you hear the first few words of dialogue before you cut into the scene. And again, the post-lap would be the opposite. You might cut in picture, but still hear some sound trailing out into the next scene. Foley is the term you'll hear a lot. Foley is really a category of sound effects. Commonly, Foley is actually performed, as in footsteps, clothing rustle, prop handling. Those are all specific Foley sounds. Nowadays, we have libraries of Foley sounds. We don't always have to perform them, but they are sound effects that generally go along with people or props. ADR. ADR is a dialogue term, and different people may give you different definitions of what it stands for. I've heard it stand for automatic dialogue replacement, but there's nothing automatic about it. Usually we refer to it as actor dialogue replacement. So ADR is when actors come back into the studio in post-production to re-record lines that were noisy or damaged during production, or to add new lines that were never done in production. The last term I have on my list today is loop group. Loop group sort of falls in the category of ADR. It is dialogue that is recorded in the studio to go along with picture. And loop group is when you use a group of people or individuals to record background sounds for any given scene. So let's say you have a restaurant scene and your main two actors are sitting at a table having dinner, but you see actors in the background who are sitting at other tables eating dinner. We would actually record people talking as if they were those people to provide that kind of specific background ambience. Loop group can take all kinds of forms. It can be people shouting outside, it can be people at a party, but generally it's a layer of the ambient sound that's specific to what you see in picture and is performed by actors or loop groupers in audio post-production. Okay, that wraps up our glossary of terms that we're covering today. I hope you found it helpful. I just want to remind you that we're giving away a free pair of studio headphones. Look for the link in the description for a chance to win.